Welcome back to another edition of History in Your Own Backyard. I'm Satoli. Today I'm in Dearborn County, Indiana. You know, over the years I've produced over 575 documentaries on everything from one-room schoolhouses to cathedrals. And everybody asks me, what's your favorite video? There's so many cool videos, I can't figure out what the best one is. But the one that you're going to watch today is probably in the top 5. This is the coolest information I have come across in the past 8 years. And it's about an old rail line that goes through Dearborn County. It started in the 1850s. And the story I'm about to tell you about is amazing. And it all started with this stone bridge abutment behind me. Not sure if you can see it, but there's an old stone bridge abutment that I have passed hundreds of times over the past 35 years. I knew a little bit about it, but once I dug into the story, it became amazing what happened between this bridge abutment and the current rail line that sits out there today. Stick with me and we'll check this thing out. Although I have done quite a bit of research on this subject, I can't guarantee that everything I'm about to say is 100% correct. So if you see or hear a mistake in this video, please feel free to let me know. In the 1850s, a railroad company built a rail line from Cincinnati to Indianapolis. The section from Lawrenceburg Junction to Sunman, Indiana was a pretty rugged piece of track. This original line was expensive to maintain and basically followed the west fork of Tanner's Creek up to Wiesburg, Indiana, and beyond into Sunman, Indiana. The section of railroad between Guilford and Wiesburg, Indiana was relatively steep for a rail line, with a grade of up to 66 feet per mile and a total rise of 506 feet over 11 miles. The grade was so steep that a pusher engine was stationed in Guilford, Indiana, to help push the trains up the hill to Sunman, Indiana. In 1902, the management of the rail line, the Cleveland, Cincinnati, Chicago, and St. Louis Railroad, also known as the Big Four Railroad, realized that by straightening the rail line mainly between Guilford and Sunman, Indiana, they could save over 30 minutes in travel time between Cincinnati and Indianapolis. A decision was made to realign the track, reduce the grade, and build 2 parallel tracks as opposed to just one. After the logistics were ironed out, the work began in August of 1903. At least 20,000 men were hired to rebuild the rail line. A magazine article later written after the project was completed described the men as, quote, foreigners, ignorant, dirty, and quarrelsome, unquote. The men lived in tents which held between 18 and 20 laborers. Even throughout the winter, they lived in the tents with only small stoves to stay warm. There were 6 camps strung out over a 9-mile section between Manchester and Sunman. It was reported that many of the men became sick and died due to poor living conditions. The Cincinnati hospitals were filled with victims, and trainloads of men were removed from the camps each week. After completion, the track mileage from Guilford to Sunman was reduced from 11 miles to 8. In some places, entire hillsides were dynamited away. Gorges up to 110 feet deep were blasted through solid rock in order to realign the west fork of Tanner's Creek. In the 18 miles of reconstruction, the number of curves was reduced from 73 to 16, and the rise was reduced from 506 feet to 380 feet. The channel of Tanner's Creek was changed at 8 different locations. More than 2 million cubic yards of stone and dirt was excavated. A total of 970 tons of cast iron was used in sewer piping. The most extensive portion of the construction was between Manchester and Wiesburg, where 3 bridges and 3 deep cuts were made. The construction was completed in 6 sections without interfering the daily traffic of the trains. And as fast as one section was completed, the traffic was shifted from the old line to the new line. 19 bridges of solid concrete were built by the Moore-Mansfield Construction Company of Indianapolis. The old rail bed crossed Tanner's Creek 24 times, but with the realignment, it was reduced to only 16 crossings. Back to the old railroad bridge abutment that started my interest in this video. This abutment dates back to the 1850s alignment. There was another abutment on the other side of the road, but that was removed when the new alignment was built. What is of great interest here is that the bridge that these abutments supported crossed over the roadway and over Tanner's Creek. The creek actually flowed next to where the current roadway sits. At that time, the road forded the creek several times in this area, as shown on this map from the 1870s. Tanner's Creek was straightened out by digging out a 110-foot deep gorge through the hillside just 50 yards to the northeast and running it straight, as can be seen in this aerial view. The gorge is about a quarter-mile long with an unusual concrete structure at the northern end. The concrete structure is about where the rechanneling of the creek began at the northwest end, although I have no idea what it was used for. The creek was forced to go straight until it met up with the original creek alignment where today's tunnel is located. The original 1850s alignment of the railroad crossed the hillside and followed the curvature on the east side of Tanner's Creek. Once the new railroad was constructed on the west side of the creek, the old alignment was vacated by the railroad and turned over to the county, who turned it into Bonnell Road. So, most sections of Bonnell Road between Fox Road and the tunnel are actually sitting on the old rail alignment. If you're heading northwest on Bonnell Road towards the tunnel, as the road turns hard to the left leading down to the tunnel and stream crossing, you will see a driveway going straight back. This driveway sits on the 1850s railroad alignment, which crossed the former hillside at this location before it was dug out to straighten Tanner's Creek, as mentioned before. After the creek was rerouted, the roadway was then built in the valley of the former creek bed, and a tunnel was built under the new railroad alignment to connect it to the other portion of Bonnell Road, which now sits on the 1850s alignment, as mentioned before.